Hey, how you doing? This is RJ. Today I'm going to tie together a lot of the things that I've been saying in my other videos and ask the question, why is Marvel persisting with this SJW nonsense even though they can see it's costing them a lot of money? And you can apply this to any of the comic companies, DC or even the smaller ones that are still continuing on with this SJW nonsense. And you can also just apply it to companies in general, because it appears from the casual observer standpoint that a lot of companies are still getting woke, even though they should know better, even though they should be able to look at what's going on and see that if they do so, they're going to start losing money and may even go out of business. So the question is, why are they doing this? And I'm going to focus on Marvel. Why is Marvel continuing to do this? And to answer that question, we have to look at how Marvel comes up with what they're going to produce next for their comics. Now, I had a very good insight into this in one of my videos, which I did because I looked at the website for Marvel and the jobs that they are advertising for Marvel Entertainment. And 3 out of the 15 jobs that were listed there had to do with statistical analysis and market research. So basically, what they're doing is they're looking for people to do statistical analysis to find out what they're going to produce next as a product. And you can bet that if they're looking for people to do that as a new job, you still have people doing it as a job right now. So that's what they do. In part, at the very least, they look at statistics to find out what is going on and what to produce next. So the question is, again, why do these people not see the statistics and see the fact that they are losing money? Now, I'm going to make a couple of assumptions here because, well, I used to do research, and it was fairly high-level research, I guess you'd call it. My research was dependent upon, millions of dollars, sometimes going through transactions. So I had a job where you could not make mistakes. Okay, the number one priority was do not make a mistake, because you got millions of dollars going back and forth through people's hands, and it's contingent upon my research. You can't make mistakes. So the point is that I became very good at this. I was very good at it because of one simple thing. When I found a mistake and it looked like someone else had made a mistake, I assumed that it was my mistake. And I would walk away from it and come back and give it some further analysis and say, yeah, 9 times out of 10, it was my mistake. I was going too fast. I was reading things wrong, So it was my mistake, and I needed to look at it that way. And 9 times out of 10, that's what it turned out to be. And that's how I became good at not making mistakes. So when you see something that looks like somebody is making a mistake, you should, I would say, from my personal experience at the very least, 9 times out of 10, you should look at it and say, this is probably my mistake. So you don't assume that the other person is making a mistake. So we're looking at these people who are doing statistical analysis at Marvel. Let's assume that they are not making mistakes. Let's assume that they are doing their job and they're doing it right. We'll also assume that the people who run Marvel, at the very least the people who connect Marvel to Disney, don't want Marvel to go broke. So at the very least, they're not stupid either. So we'll make those 2 assumptions. The people running Marvel aren't stupid, and the people doing the statistical analysis to find out what they're going to produce next aren't stupid either. So if we make those 2 assumptions, then where is this coming from? Where is the problem that they are still producing this SJW nonsense? Well, the obvious answer is that the problem is with the statistics themselves. So many people mistakenly think of statistics, and usually what comes to mind is that line, you can't argue with statistics. You can damn well argue with statistics. Statistics can be bent in so many ways. I like that old quote of Mark Twain. He did it in a biography of somebody else, so it's not his quote. It was, there are lies, damnable lies, and then there are statistics. So that's what kind of level statistics really should be viewed at. And another thing to look at is that if you're actually dealing with logic, if you have a logical argument and you try to enter statistics into it, that is a logical fallacy. It's called a statistical fallacy. You don't enter statistics into a logical argument. That is illogical, and you will be told so if you try to do so. So statistics really should not be viewed in the level that they are right now. And many people, they conflate statistics with science on some level, which really isn't the case. Statistics at the best should just point you towards what questions to ask next. It is not an answer to anything. And besides that, you have in history for the last 20, 30, 40 years, far leftists using statistics and producing statistics in analysis that is bent towards actually just proving their point. So what these far leftists have done over the last 20, 30, 40 years is that when they put out a study is they compile their information based upon asking people questions. And not only that, but the questions that they ask these people, of course, are given a leftist bent. So they're biased questions to begin with. But before they even do that, they usually have a pre-screening selection process whereby they only pick the people to answer the questions who they assume, and it points to that they're going to answer them in the way that they want to be answered. So you have a selection process that is biased, you have people that are biased, and you have questions that are biased, and they're all there to produce a leftist answer to these questions and therefore give you leftist pointing statistics that point towards their ideology being correct. And they use this a lot, especially, I would say, in the field of things like medicine, with mental illness, certainly over the last 20, 30 years. A lot of these mental illnesses that used to be mental illnesses 40 years ago and are no longer classified as such, there's no actual scientific evidence to point towards them that they shouldn't be listed as this anymore. It's the fact that you've had these leftists and they put out these studies and they get these people who are going to answer the questions which in the way that they want them to answer, and then they give them rigged questions, and then therefore they produced a kind of analysis which actually proves their point because the whole thing is biased. And what they do is then they take that what they call facts and they conflate them with science, and they usually give them to some political actor so that the political actor will look at them and he conflates them with science because, well, political people in politics, we can assume they're stupid, right? So at the very least, what happens is you get these political actors and then they start changing laws which sort of make it illegal to call these people mentally ill or something else, and that is what changes the actual scientific definition of these things. Not anything to do with science, and that's not how science works, by the way, and these people should not be having an influence on scientific definitions, but they do, usually through this bent of statistical analysis. So leftists have been doing this for quite some time now, and again, they're very good at it. They know what to do and they know what kind of strings to pull. So the thing is, again, that when you have this working for the left, you have to look at where people from Marvel are getting their numbers in order to do their statistical analysis. And where do you think that they're getting them from? Well, if you looked at Marvel's website, you'll see that they push people off to Twitter a lot. They push them off sometimes to YouTube, sometimes to Facebook, but to Twitter a lot. And there's things going on with Twitter's website that I've covered in other videos that really don't make any sense. Okay, things like the fact that they have 6.75 million followers, yet they can't scratch up 100 likes for most of their tweets, which means that they're not even getting 0.001 of 1% of their followers to actually like the tweets. And you have things which would be controversial, according to Comicsgate standards anyways, and you get this tweet that would have, 50 or 100 responses to it, and maybe one or two of them would be positive. So you have all this going on with Twitter, and it doesn't make any sense. So why are these people that are doing statistical analysis at Marvel not seeing these things? Well, it's because of where they're getting their statistics from and how their statistics are getting to them. Now, if you know anything about how YouTube or Twitter or Facebook work, you know that so let's say you here are watching a YouTube video. You are not actually the customer of YouTube. In watching this video, any video, you are not the customer. No people that watch videos are the customers of YouTube. You're watching a video and you have probably stuff in the corner of your screen going off, which is an advertisement, and YouTube is making money off of that advertisement and all of that's going on. But still, you are not their customer. What is going on is YouTube is taking all of the things that you watch, it is collecting that information. It's collecting the information about which videos that you watch, what advertisements are getting shown to you, what advertisements you click on, and they're taking all that information and they're compiling it and putting it together with the information of millions of other people, and then they are selling it to large companies, and the large companies are their customers. You are their product. You are not the customer for YouTube. You are the product for YouTube. And they are selling your information to these big companies so these big companies can do statistical analysis of the research. Now, we know, just flat out know, that YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook are controlled by left-leaning people, that they are created by left-leaning people, that the people who run them are left-leaning, that they do things like silence conservative voices, and they give a megaphone to far leftist voices, and they shadow ban people that have conservative insights into things. And so, if they are doing this, and they are shadow banning people, say, and we know that they don't just shadow ban one or two people, they don't have somebody just clicking you off there, they are having these AIs just take massive sections of the people and just make their information irrelevant. And so if these left-leaning companies are actually doing this, and we know that they're left-leaning companies, and we know that they're shadow banning people, and we know that they're silencing the voices of people, we can, I would say, make a bit of an assumption and say that they are also doing this in the information that they are compiling and selling to people. Because if they are taking the information of you and me and putting it in with everybody else's information and then selling that to companies, and companies are doing statistical analysis of it to figure out what they should do next, well, the best thing for them to do to feed into their leftist agenda is to take those numbers and to weed out all of the numbers that actually show that people on the right are actually not liking what's going on and what they are liking, and that would gum up their whole narrative that, you know, the left is winning, this is what your product base is supposed to be, this is what your customer base is, see, look, only left-leaning people read comic books. This is what they're doing. This is what is happening because Marvel is getting its numbers for its statistical analysis. It's getting its numbers from places like Twitter. Twitter is a far left-leaning company who weeds out conservative voices. Therefore, the numbers that are given to Marvel, just like in those little studies where they would do things, where they would give you bent questions and have people answer the questions who are going to answer them in the way that they want, they just massage the numbers so that it looks like left-leaning people are actually buying these things and that they are their customer base. And this is why we have things happening at Marvel, like them declaring themselves a lifestyle brand. And if you look at it, and I have in one of my videos about what it works out to when they declare themselves a lifestyle brand, is when you're a lifestyle brand, you have to sell to a subsection of the population. And when you look at it, they're not selling to the subsection of comic readers or comic buyers or people who like superheroes. Their subsection is deliberately pointed towards SJW and far left-leaning people. Why? I am assuming because, of course, this is the statistical analysis. This is what the statistical analysis is pointing to with the numbers that they are given by institutions like Twitter. And this is what's going on. This is why companies like Marvel are still doing this idiotic stuff and putting out SJW nonsense and not actually paying attention to our voices, because our voices are being silenced right at the get-go. They never get to the statistical analysis place. And so these people who are doing the statistical analysis and they are not making mistakes, well, they're not making mistakes because, of course, they don't hear our voices. Our voices have been silenced, pre-silenced, before they even get to that point. And that's what's going on. And that's why Marvel is still producing garbage and looks like it will be producing garbage for quite some time now. All right, so if I've given you anything new to think about, hit like, hit subscribe by hitting that shield in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Also, leave me a comment, give me something new to think about. I love all my comments, and I read all that I can, and I just love when everybody comments. So I thank everybody for doing that. All right, I also have to apologize for the poor quality of this video. I'm actually having to do it on the fly. All right, so I'll see you later. Bye.